you're bound to lose, you damn fascist. You're bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. Race hatred cannot stop us. This thing I know. Your poll tax and Jim Crow greed have got to go. You're bound to lose. You damn fascists. You're bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. You bound to lose. You bound to lose. Bound to lose. I'm going into this battle. Take my Union gun. We'll end this world of slavery before this battle's won. You're bound to lose. You're bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. Yes, sir. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. Oh, you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. I said. Oh, you fascists
worse every day, but there is a way. Capitalism must burn. Sweep up the ashes and place them in the history's urn. Why don't people wanna learn? I don't know. I don't know.
Racism, war, sexism and patriarchy, poverty, disease, homelessness, immigrant hysteria. It's all a part of what makes capitalism so horrendously successful.
Only we can make it happen. We gotta come together and strategize, gotta organize. No one else is gonna do it. We can't just sit here and be paralyzed, be legalized. Capitalism must burn. Sweep up the ashes and place them in the history's urn. Why don't people wanna learn? I don't know. I don't know.
Capitalism is responsible for the death of hundreds of millions of people. It's a global nightmare and it has to end.
I'm gonna tell all you fascists, you make me surprised. The people in this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose. You fascists are bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. You bound to lose. You bound to lose. There's people of every
Hi, welcome to Antifascist Fridays.
Welcome back.
Yay. We're Ashera. It's been, since September since we did this, so about 6 months. We took a little break. We were finishing up our album that we put out in December, Rob the Rich. And, the pandemic was peaking and, everything got kind of crazy last fall and into the winter. But spring is almost here, and
Yay!
the pandemic is also still
Yay,
here.
but
Things are getting a little bit better. We'll see how that goes. But there's reason to be optimistic. Numbers are going down. Vaccines are starting to get out, and so hopefully things are turning around. We're excited to be here. We have a great show for you. We're excited to be doing the show again. And talking about art and music and culture and bringing anti-fascism into all of it. So let's get started with the song. We just put out a video
Right.
last Friday.
it's a pretty fun one.
Yeah, it was fun.
You had fun with that.
Yeah, it was fun to make. So this is for Meditation on Hunting Clan. It's one of the songs off the album that we released a couple months ago. So let's check it out.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm all ready to get
Yeah,
out there.
it was fun to make, like I said.
Yes, no Klans people were actually harmed in the making of this
Unfortunately.
video.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
We couldn't find any actual ones. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there, but
Yeah.
in the making of, none popped up. So otherwise, would have killed them.
Yeah, no, not really, but yeah. Okay, so if you would like to hear the song along with all the other amazing songs on our second album, Rob the Rich, you can do so by finding us on Bandcamp and Spotify.
Yeah, or just our website.
Or our website.
Which is asheramusicpnw.com. And we've got links to all, the downloads and streaming spots.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a guest in a few minutes, but first let's do another song. Well, I guess maybe it's a little bit appropriate to talk a little bit about the guest and the conversation we're going to have later because they're related. But so after we do this song here, we are going to talk with Lef from Left Folk. They're putting out a compilation. And this song that we're going to hear now is on that compilation. It's a cover song of A las Barricadas, which is an old Spanish Civil War song that anarchists would sing. And so myself, I played whistle on it, and I honestly don't even know who, but someone played violin. That will be interesting information to find out who I collaborated with.
Well, yes.
And there's some guitar in there too. And there might be other stuff as of this recording. I actually have not even heard it yet. We'll just...
well, that's exciting.
A little
I heard you
there.
fluting away, flouting away.
Yeah, it was fun. Learned the song and recorded it all in one day. I think part of the point was like forcing it to be rushed, and so that there's a little bit of urgency and tension in it. Yeah. Hopefully that comes through. But so yeah, I actually haven't even heard it yet. Right? I mean, everybody. There's no secret that a lot of this is pre-recorded. So I'll actually hear it tomorrow, the day before this airs. We're recording this a couple days before airing. But so we're going to actually cut out now and listen to that song again, A las Barricadas. This is off of the new Left Folk compilation that's coming out, and we'll talk more about that later. But here's the song. All right, welcome back. Hope that you enjoyed that song. Again, it's called A las Barricadas. It's an old anarchist Spanish Civil War song. That is on this album, this compilation album that was just released today. We have a song on our title song off of our new album, Rob the Rich, is on that compilation. And then that song you just heard, A las Barricadas, like I said, was, before we heard it, was a collaboration that was done between myself and some other folks involved in putting the compilation together. And we're gonna talk more about that compilation now.
Yep.
We've got earlier we had a conversation with Left from Left Folk. They're one of the representatives here on the West Coast of the Left Folk Collective. This is the second compilation that they've put out. So we're going to talk with them about the collective, the compilations, anti-fascism, and yeah. So let's go to that conversation now. Hey, Lev, thanks for joining us. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. It's been a long week, but we're happy that the weekend is here.
Absolutely, and I'm exaggerating when I say okay, given the timely circumstances.
Yeah, for sure. I hear that. So we're here to talk with you about Left Folk and the music compilation that you all have coming out. So why don't we just start with talking about Left Folk and what that is. So kind of generally speaking, as like a genre of music or a category of some kind, what is Left Folk and what does that mean?
Left Folk takes post-industrial music. So there's neo-folk, industrial music, a lot of experimental, and kind of takes that whole category and places it to the left politically, so that it's existing within a different context and within its own space, and it's devoid of entryist politics.
And for folks who maybe aren't familiar with the term, what do you mean by entryist politics?
Entryism as a methodology for far-right movements to kind of normalize their aesthetics, language, and ideas by means of, other cultural things that might not have anything necessarily to do with politics.
Right. So essentially, we're talking about, sort of not like, 60s kind of singer-songwriter folk necessarily, but like you said, industrial, kind of more darker folk, neo-folk, but that is as politically progressive, or maybe not even progressive, radical. I'm curious why that's, well, I mean, I'm not curious, I know, but folks might be, and it's kind of like one of the things we're here to talk about, why that's important. Like, why is it important to carve out space for leftists and for radicals within music in general, but within this particular kind of style of music, neo-folk kind of industrial music?
Sure. The thing is, if anyone is interested in industrial music, post-industrial music, goth music, all that stuff, knows that there's a current of kind of Nazi imagery, a current of kind of playing the edgelord, which begins in an artistic context and maybe even a confrontational context, but as we've seen over time, and anyone who denies this is just lying to you or is being too much of a coward to look at what's happening, is there's a lot of infiltration from far-right ideologies into these spaces of music, which isn't surprising as it comes from industrial music, and industrial music has very countercultural kind of exploration of forbidden aesthetics and ideas, but that kind of leaves the door open for people who actually are trying to expand those ideas to kind of create a safe space for themselves within that genre. So Left Folk is important as a way to kind of counteract that by doing the inverse of that, basically.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I think that's important because I mean, fascists and fascism are really good at usurping things, right? Usurping ideas, usurping ideologies, mythologies, all of these things, and so we have to, kind of making sure that they're not able to enter any of these kind of spaces, whether they're cultural spaces or political spaces, right? Without being contested. And without us putting up sort of like a roadblock, right?
Absolutely, and I think that there are a lot of people who maybe have an interest in the music for aesthetic purposes and just because good music, they enjoy it, but don't know what to do with having to constantly face that kind of criticism and conversation as they realize that they're surrounded by people who thinks that it's a good thing, that it has these far right leanings. And so it's kind of like a way for those people to have another direction to pull into.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a similar dynamic in black metal, where you get kind of like people who are looking for kind of like alternative, kind of darker, maybe not just music, but just kind of lifestyle in general, and so are maybe more likely to be influenced by sort of fascist ideology or whatever kind of more, stuff that seems more abhorrent to others. But I think too within neo-folk in particular, just because it's got sort of like this really romantic kind of like looking to the past, and that could be not, I don't want to say dangerous, but I can see how it really is kind of lends itself to entryism and right, this is just sort of like hearkening back to golden ages and that all sort of kind of borders on like Nazi mythologizing and stuff like that.
Absolutely,
so
and
go ahead.
A part of that is simply because the entryists have a mythologized, made-up version of the history that they're trying to kind of lionize, and they call it tradition. And within the genre itself, of course, you're exploring the past and stuff, and that kind of makes it easy to fall into ideas that aren't based in reality.
Yeah, for sure.
So can you tell us about the Left Folk Collective?
Yes, the Left Folk Collective is very, very, very small, but it is made up of a very small, dedicated group of people who are trying to explore these ideas. And of course, it's growing. And as the compilations go on, we try to pull people into this collective action, which is kind of taking neo-folk music and recontextualizing everything about it and creating a different wave, a separate kind of a separate pathway. And so the people who are involved in this, we have visual artists, we have sound producers and musicians, and basically a lot of it consists of discourse and exploring things within a leftist political sphere that is conducive to the aesthetic and interests of the music and the subculture.
Yeah, it's right up our alley. That's why we love you.
Thank you.
Well, okay. So I guess now that we've kind of explored the concept of left folk and what specifically your collective is doing, and just why it's what you all are doing is important. I want to talk a little bit about the compilations that you all have been doing at Left Folk. So last fall, you all put out, in collaboration with the Blazon Sioux, your first compilation called In Solidarity, Songs of Struggle and Liberation. So first tell us about that compilation, and then we can talk about the new one. But how did the idea get started for doing these compilations? How did the first one come together? That kind of stuff.
Well, it basically started with myself asking myself, do I want to make a playlist for myself, or do I want to make a playlist that I can have other people listen to? that consists of music that I think is like are great examples of what neo-folk and post-industrial music is, and still has a leftist framework. And so I thought, okay, I'm just gonna get songs I like off, CDs, internet, whatever. And then I thought, well, maybe if there's new stuff out there, like how can I kind of push for newer stuff? So then I was actually talking to Shane Burley from Blaze Anzus, and I was, commenting that I really appreciate the work that's been put in to kind of like draw people out, and it's something I've been interested in doing for a long time. And so I said, well, I kind of want to throw a playlist together, but why don't we go further? And then so it kind of started moving from there, and our graphic artists had images that we could use, and so we were kind of all together hashing out what bands should we approach for this first one, or what should we do here and there. And the idea was, okay, if we're going to put all this music up on something like SoundCloud or Bandcamp, we need to get permission from all these people. We need to get them involved, and also how can we use this to also enact actual action in the world? So then it was suggested, what if we collected donations from this? And then discussing with other people in the collective, we thought, okay, well, how about for what's going on right now, which was there's ongoing protests all across the country for Black Lives Matter, protests against the police state. And so we thought it would make sense to kind of collect the money and give it to people who are helping the protests keep going. So we donated to the National Bail Fund Network, so that then that money could be allocated to people who were arrested for protesting in various cities across the U.S.
That's awesome. And you raised like $1,000 or more than $1,000, right, for the bail fund?
Yeah, we sent a first payment of $1,000 a while back, and I've been kind of letting it build back up so I can do fewer donations, but in larger amounts, which
Sure.
I spoke to National Bail Fund, and they said they would actually prefer it in that format. So I've been holding off on the next wave of the donation, which I'll probably dump before the next compilation comes out, so that we can maximize what National Bail Fund Network gets from us. But last I checked, we're well over 1,000. So I'm trying to kind of see if we can get $2,000 increments.
Sure. Great.
So the second compilation comes out today, and how is it different from the first one? And what new interesting sounds does that bring?
Well, the compilation that has come out today, it is called Resilience as Praxis. And the way it differs is we simply have a collection of different artists for the most part than the previous compilation. While we do have some artists that are returning, like y'all, we do have stuff that we haven't played before on the previous compilation, as well as a lot of original, brand new music that is just for this compilation.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of reach out to artists who aren't just folk musicians and have more of the fit of post-industrial music that is outside of just neo-folk.
Nice.
Because that's what exists in the neo-folk scene. There's a lot of artists who aren't necessarily doing the exact sound, and they're taking other avenues, but it still fits a cohesive aesthetic and narrative.
Yeah.
So with this one, we have quite a few acts that are a lot more experimental and kind of ethereal and strange, and I think they're a wonderful addition to the ongoing culture.
Awesome. I
I'm
can't wait to
excited.
hear. Yeah. So what is the organization that this one benefits? I mean, you mentioned maximizing the National Bail Fund profits, so I assume that there's a different organization that's going to benefit from this second compilation.
Yes, the the proceeds from this compilation will go to the Kurdish Red Crescent. It is a unofficial Red Crescent organization because, unfortunately, to be officially recognized on the world stage as part of the Red Crescent, which is kind of like, it's kind of like analogous to the Red Cross. You have to meet certain requirements that involve a recognized statehood and other things that go into annoying, like global bureaucratic politics.
Right.
That kind of like limits them being able to collect money, but they're still doing it. And what it is right now they're focusing on aid for people who are refugees and who are affected by the Syrian civil war and ongoing onslaught by, like the fascist Turkish state.
Yeah.
To help people who, with resources, and specifically right now, helping them with their efforts with dealing with COVID. I know that they're currently trying to get more respirators, and they also are trying to gain access to the vaccine. So the funding that we send will hopefully go towards making that effort more fruitful as soon as possible, because it's really, them versus a world that doesn't want them to exist. And
yeah,
it's the project in the Rojava project is very important to me, and it's one of those things that gave me hope throughout the last 4 years that the world isn't entirely all just giving up. And so anything that can help this movement is beneficial not only to them but to the ethos of the planet. It's important to the ethos of liberation and all people who are trying to forge a better tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a really great cause. I'm glad that is what ended up being chosen, and I'm really glad that we're able to be a part of this second compilation and help raise money for that.
Definitely.
So
yeah, and we really appreciate your contribution as well. Y'all have been very instrumental in kind of carving out the direction that we're trying to pull things into. Every artist who is a part of this adds a little something.
for sure.
It adds a little angle to the big web that is supposed to be left folk in our eyes. And we run concurrent to the Antifascist Neofolk blog, and people who associate with that music. We're kind of like the same as, like, we're alongside them, but we're trying to have a more like subculture specific kind of more focused, sharpened angle for it.
Yeah, I like it. Well, so then aside from this compilation, is there anything else kind of in the works for Left Folk over the next, 6 months or year or so?
Yes, we're already going to start organizing the compilation that comes after this, which we haven't decided when that's coming out. We'll probably give this one some time to be on its own. But beyond that, our artists are focusing on putting out graphics and things that can be used for agitprop, and working closely with artists within the new red anarchist black metal movement, and working with their artists, because there's a lot of I think camaraderie that can be achieved between those two movements. And beyond that, we basically have been reaching out to people who are maybe interested in approaching this kind of music and just haven't had somebody give them the nudge that they need, or they've been turned off by, seeing the death's head everywhere, and running into people who are, trying to be tongue in cheek about how much they're actually just a bunch of Nazis, because there's a lot of those people who think that they're winking and nodding and tongue in cheek approach is clever still, but it's something that we've been watching since the 80s. So, the cat's out of the bag. We know who you are. We can see you. And so
it's not ironic anymore.
No, it's like going to a party and somebody decides to play some awful meme song like the Rick Astley or something, and they do it as a joke, and then they do it the next day and the next day and the next day. Eventually, they're just a bunch of Rick Astley fans. So it's the same thing. So with that in mind, we're kind of reaching out and trying to help as many artists within the little group produce their next works, and kind of pushing people here and there, because there's a lot of really good creative artists out there that I think could use a little boost in terms of production approach, or how they could have their ideas challenged in a way that lets their concepts expand beyond what they're doing now. And so that's kind of where we're at. We're just trying to build this thing. And I myself play music, and I don't even have a quote unquote left folk band currently. I'm focused on helping others kind of create theirs, and I want there to be a scene. I want there to be a movement.
Yeah.
So
we need that.
Just trying to light that fire under people's asses wherever we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of the things that we're missing. I mean, this whole thing is, I mean, not that there haven't been like left folk bands for years and years and years, but like, this whole like anti-fascist neo-folk thing in particular is pretty new and wasn't really around for very long before COVID hit. And so, like we haven't even really like had a chance to like play shows with, bands that we've met, and like, really kind of like do the things that happen to kind of develop a cohesive scene. So I'm really excited to see how all of that forms as we kind of move forward.
Absolutely. And I think that by trying to put together this kind of left folk thing, it kind of forces people who have long been interested in neo-folk and listening to it to have to see what we're doing and recognize what we're doing, because we're putting out good music, we're putting out good art, and it's passionate, and it's not, they're all worried. There's always this worry that it's, going to turn into a bunch of like folk punk stuff, and it's like, not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there's elements, but this isn't crust punk. This is a different thing, and we're kind of trying to build this kind of credibility to the music and the movement, because a lot of the people who are involved in left folk have long been interested in this kind of outside underground neo-folk industrial, post-industrial subculture. And so I know that, for example, when Antifascist Neo-folk first started coming out with interviews and highlighting artists, there was a lot of skepticism from people who were long time in the neo-folk scene, and they thought, oh, these people are just showing up out of nowhere and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sorry, you don't own anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't. And so the biggest point for the left folk movement is to go, listen to this. This is legit. This is really good. And if you don't like it, it's not because you don't think it's good. It's probably because you're upset that there's people who aren't fascists who are doing this kind of thing. So,
yeah, make room because we're here. Yeah. Well, I think we're out of time. So It's been really great talking to you. And is there, want to tell folks where they can get the compilation that came out today? Well, both compilations really, I imagine, are available in the same spot.
Yes, we release everything through Bandcamp. You can find us at leftfolk.bandcamp.com. And for info and general posts, and our main output is at leftfolk on Instagram.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for talking with us today. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. And I really appreciate everything y'all are doing. And, you know, this is all on our shoulders, all of our shoulders. So it's our mission to move this forward and to do it with passion and with honesty and without fear.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said.
Well said. Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, we'll talk to you soon, Lef.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Take
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that conversation, and don't forget that compilation is out today.
Yeah, go to leftfolk.bandcamp.com.
Right.
And yeah, again, it goes to a really great cause, the Kurdish Red Crescent and their efforts around COVID-19 and the Kurdish population over the Iraq, Syria, Turkey area.
Right. Well, we're really glad you could join us today, and we're super excited to be back doing our show. And as spring is springing, and lots to look forward to. Hopefully, some actual, real people time this summer. We're hoping. So we hope you'll stick with us through the spring, and keep tuning in. We enjoy having you. We enjoy this time talking about really important shit. So. Have a good week.
Yeah, well, and join us next time too. Not next Friday, but the Friday after, first and third Friday of every month. And next time we're going to be talking with Will Nguyen about Star Trek and fascism and anti-fascism. Yep, it's going to be a great conversation. Do a little sci-fi. Yeah. All right.
So live long and prosper.
Yes. Have a good one, and we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.